Hi everyone, it's Kimber, the study abroad specialist here. I just wanted to do a bit of a follow-up video on the Gilman scholarship. I know that with those scholarship videos, there's always so much packed in there, but I don't want to make it 3 hours long because honestly, who's going to be watching that? So I always have to do a bit of a follow-up on some of the key points that I also want to mention. And for this particular video, I wanted to just go over the 5 pillars, as they would be, of what the selection committee is actually taking into account when they are thinking about whether or not you might be eligible for a Gilman scholarship. So as we talked about in the original video, if you have not had a chance to see that, I will link it above. But I talked about the fact that there are already a select amount of groups that are targeted within this. It's going to be students who, based on what Representative Gilman wanted, to be able to reach out to students who do not always have the same opportunities as a lot of, let's say, middle class students or higher class students in our country who may otherwise not be exposed to study abroad or interning abroad, and to be able to give them some opportunity to be able to do that. So there's already a list of those students, and also mentioning the fact that you have to be a US citizen and you have to be an undergraduate student in good standing. That if you have all those criteria, what are some of the things that the selection committee is going to be looking at? So I wanted to cover that with you today. So we're going to start out by thinking on the impact of the program and the destination and the future of the person. So this is something that is going to be vital in terms of what the selection committee is looking at, because you can go and study abroad anywhere. You can go do anything technically in theory. But for the students who are applying to this particular scholarship, what is the actual impact going to be on their future and what they're trying to accomplish? So they're looking at not just where you're actually going, but what are you currently studying? What are you trying to achieve? And that's why the statement of purpose is going to be important. I know that with a lot of scholarships that we do within our academic career here in this country, we talk a lot about ourselves just from kind of a vain point of standing of, this is where I was born and this is what I did and this is what I ate yesterday and look at my selfie over here. I'm being a little bit facetious, but not that much. Whereas with this statement of purpose, it really is about making the application committee understand what this actually means to you and how important this is to you. And so that is one of the things that they are really looking at, is what is the overall impact going to be of this scholarship for this person, that maybe you are someone who's also going to be studying those critical languages that we talked about in the original video. So you could get up to $8,000. That could be a life changer for someone who may not have a lot of extra support. Maybe you are a first generation student, or you are someone with a disability, or you are a veteran out there, whatever sort of territory you fall under. That could be something that is really changing for you in terms of getting this opportunity to study abroad, can really impact you in the long term. So that is one of the top things that they think about as they're going through and evaluating who is eligible and who should be getting this scholarship. So the next factor that they look at is your community impact. So this plays back into, I've talked about this a couple times now, about the multiplier effect. So this is something that a lot of scholarships, fellowships, even some internships sort of look at, where it's like, you're going to have an opportunity to get some money, to have some impact during your classes. You're going to be studying and doing all these hard things. We want you to go back home and be able to have community impact. And looking at it specifically for students who get Gilman is, what does the long-term impact look like for this person who they maybe just be right there on the cusp of needing some extra help, and maybe they want to do some really great things? What can that look like in the long term if they're able to go overseas, get the education portion of this, and then come back and do some amazing things? So this is also something that they take into account. And again, in your statement of purpose and in the other themed essays, if it calls for that, you want to be able to hit on that point of, this is what I can do with my community long term. This is what it looks like. As I said before, if you need some help with working on your essays for Gilman or other things, just go to the link here that is on the screen, type it in. It's also linked in the description. We can work together on your essays. I love doing that with students because I love essays. But that's going to be really important to be able to show that. That is something that a lot of students don't necessarily really even talk about, or frankly don't even think about with a scholarship. They're thinking about the here and now of great, I'm going to be able to get some free money. But a lot more organizations, including Gilman, are sort of turning to this, so thinking about what can you do long term. And so being able to have that community impact. And of course, they're not saying that, of course, you are just going to return home and maybe you've been living in the same place. It doesn't matter where you are. How are you planning to use whatever you have been able to obtain during your scholarship program for good to sort of pay it forward or have the multiplier effect and be able to sow some good seeds once you actually return home from this amazing experience that you have been able to get from the actual scholarship. So just keep that in mind and start thinking about how you might articulate that within your statement of purpose to make sure that they understand that it means a lot more to you than just getting the money. Yes, the money is going to be a great vehicle for you to be able to study abroad, but there are also things that you want to be able to take forward and bring back to you, your community once you come home. So academic preparedness, this should not surprise anyone. I talk about this all the time, that study abroad is not just about studying abroad. So as I always like to say, you've probably heard it a billion times, a lot of times people will hear the word abroad, they don't hear the word study, but it is about studying. So that is the primary reason that you're there. Even if you're doing an internship, you are still, in a sense, a student. You're still a student, so you're still there to learn. And so they want to look at your academic preparedness. So that is why I said in the original video that if you are someone who you are not academically prepared, you are not in good standing, that this is not going to be the best thing for you, and that study abroad is probably not the right move for you right now, because it does take a lot out of you. It takes more effort, actually, in a lot of ways. I've done videos about our study abroad classes harder. In a lot of ways they are, because again, you're trying to learn a new culture, you may be trying to learn a new language, you are trying to get established with new roommates and a new way of living. And so there are all these different things that sort of fall under that umbrella, and academic preparedness is also important to that point, because you have to be able to keep up with your grades, and you have to be able to juggle the stress and the homesickness and all these different things that are going on. And so they are definitely looking at that, and your essays will tell them a lot about that, in addition to your transcript and also what your advisors have to say as well. Is this person actually ready to undertake this? If they actually get this money, will they perform? Will they do a good job? Or will they just be over in Spain just having a great time and not really doing much of anything? So you definitely want to be able to showcase that in any way that you can. So the next point to mention here that they look at is diversity. Now, I know in this country, and I have to admit that I get annoyed by it sometimes too, like, I just personally feel that the word diversity has been completely bastardized. It's like I mean, it's almost like it's either everything is diverse or nothing is diverse at this point. It's like, I don't know. I don't really want to go down that road, so I'm just not gonna really talk about it here. But and I do feel like it's just been overused. It's like everything cannot be just punched in with diversity. Like, you have to have like some balance. Yes, of course, I think that's great, but that, like, again, like I said, either everything is diverse or nothing is diverse at this point. It's like, whatever. But in terms of what they're actually looking for with this scholarship, they're not just looking at diversity, like, oh, like skin diversity. They're looking at a variety of things. So again, that plays into what I was talking about in the original video. As I mentioned, that they're not just looking at ethnic minorities, they're looking at first generation students, they're looking at people who have served our country, our veterans, they're looking at if you have a disability, because a lot of times in situations, in particular with study abroad, students with disabilities, whether they be seen or unseen, are often overlooked, or maybe they may not feel like, oh my gosh, like, will I be okay if I am in a wheelchair and I want to study abroad? What does that look like for me? So they're looking at a variety of different things. And also too, within the selection pool, they're trying to pick out a lot of different people to be able to say, like, okay, like, this person may be good for this particular reason, this person may be good for that particular reason. And so you definitely just want to be able to showcase that in whatever way. Now, I don't want to say that you just want to just talk about whatever it is, maybe your disability, or if you served in the military, or whatever it is. You don't just want to talk about that within your statement of purpose, but that can be a key thing to highlight. Of course, they want to know about that. And there are some of the more themed prompts that will call on that for you to talk about your background and your experience and how you are going to implement different things. But you definitely want to use that to your advantage in a way, because again, as they are looking at being able to pick people that may often be overlooked or may not even feel like study abroad is within their wheelhouse. For example, we talk about community college students and how they are often not just looked down upon by society in a lot of ways, which is very unfortunate and really makes me angry. I feel like community college in a lot of ways is more valuable than going to a 4-year college and racking up debt and not knowing what you want to do. But this is not a rant video. But a lot of community college campuses don't have a dedicated study abroad advisor, or they may not have a lot of students around who have done that, because again, you have people coming from all over the community, and a lot of students may not have done that in the past. And so you don't have that within your network and within your wheelhouse to be able to call on people who have done that. So you may just think, oh, that's not for me. Like maybe I'll do that when I transfer to a 4-year college or university. You could do it right now. And so that's going to be one of the things when we think about diversity, of kind of how they're picking out the different people. It's not just about the basic standard American racial diversity, but there's so many different things that fall under the category of diversity. So keep that in mind as you're going through this process to apply. Last but not least, and this particular pillar, it could be there, you could just say there are 4 pillars and then there's this extra 5th one here. But if you are someone who is going to be eligible for the critical languages, that they want to know that you are committed to the language. So this is not a situation where, let's say you want to learn Arabic and you just started a week before you put in your application. That does not mean that that does not have merit. We all start somewhere, but that they want to see that maybe this is something that you really have been doing. You've been taking classes since your first semester in college, and now you want to go to this place and be able to study with the locals and do all these different things. They want to see that commitment to the language. So however you can showcase that, and of course your advisors, particularly your study abroad or school advisor, will be able to talk about this. But even your financial aid advisor may be able to talk about this as well. Maybe you've gotten some other grants to be able to do different language courses on campus or off campus, or whatever that looks like for you. Be able to play that up, because again, that is an extra $3,000 that could be in your pocket and not left on the table if you are going down the critical language route for Gilman. So definitely consider that and highlight that any way that you can within your application to make sure that they can see that you are committed to the languages and that you want to be able to move this forward within your career path. So as always, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have not had a chance to watch the original video on Gilman, I have linked it in the description box and also linked it above as well. So definitely go over there and check that out. It is a fabulous scholarship for American students who are interested in undergrad, who are interested in studying abroad. So definitely go and check that out. And also check out my Study Abroad Scholarship series. There's a lot of great content already on the channel about different scholarships that you may just want to check out, both for different parts of the world and for undergrad and for graduate school as well. So definitely check that out. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I release videos every single Friday and sometimes on Wednesdays and Thursdays as well. Please also share this video with someone that you may know who's interested in applying for a Gilman scholarship. And please also like this video. It really helps me out. Thanks so much, and I will see you in the next one.